Welcome back to the Color of Money podcast. I'm joined today again with my co-host, Mr. Emric Peace and Michael Pitre. And today I have the special joy of bringing on my brother, my friend, my mentor in a lot of ways, Mr. Michael Pitre. Now, me and Mike have grown up together basically our entire lives. We call each other brothers more so than friends. And on this journey that Michael has had through collegiate sports at a really high level, being a player in the NFL, and then now coaching at the highest level in the NFL. We often talk about leadership, and we talk about leading the people that inside of our worlds, whether it be real estate agents or in his world, looking at growing, building people that are the absolute best at their position. And so we're going to talk about his journey through leadership, what he's learned along the way, and drop some gems on how we can all be better leaders ourselves. Welcome, Mike.
I appreciate it, Daniel. And Bo, Emric, it's very nice to meet you guys. Appreciate you guys having me.
Great to have you, man.
Take us back how we got to this position as a player, what you've learned playing at a high level, and then just kind of how you see the world differently now from the player perspective with what leadership is versus now, being a coach in the NFL.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, man. And I think, like you mentioned, man, we grew up playing sports, and you do it for truly the love of the game, right? At a young age, you love having fun. You go out there, and you always hear people talk about it. Well, man, the beauty of sports is it teaches you life lessons, right? And it teaches you things about yourself that you may not know if you don't go through some of those experiences with people, but also some of those experiences you go through with yourself, of having to push yourself. And so really starting at a young age, man, I always knew I wanted to coach. Being able to influence and be able to guide a group of people is something that's always interested me. And I think the unique part is, when I first started and had that interest of coaching, even while I was a player, my goal was just to be a high school football coach or a high school teacher, because I felt like, man, if you can work with that age group and be able to influence that age group and help them become the best versions of themselves, there's nothing more rewarding than that. Because truth be told, and you know this, Daniel, some of my journey was I needed coaches when I was 14 to 18 years old and needed those guys to help me be able to get to the next step because of some of the things I was going through personally. And through that, man, went to UCLA and was recruited by two different staffs there. And, you always think, things happen for a reason. People come in your life for a reason. And so I was very fortunate to meet individuals like Carl Durrell, who was my head coach, right? Eric Bieniemy, who's a mentor, again, like a father figure to me, John Embry, Tom Cable, and a lot of really great men that helped me kind of help guide me through this coaching journey, but also helped guide me when I was 18 to 22 and was trying to figure life out. And through that, and watching them and watching how I was able to grow with their influence, man, I was fortunate enough to have a cup of coffee, in the NFL. And I still had that itch for coaching. And again, like I said, I just wanted to be a high school coach, play for as long as I can, maximize opportunity, make as much money as I can playing football, and then be able to use that to put myself in ready for the next phase of my life, I guess you would say. And for me, the journey ended up being different than how I foresaw. Okay. And so my stint in the NFL was short, in and out, boom, I got hurt. Okay. And so then I actually stepped away from football because I was mad at the game, man. I felt like I had given so much to that game and loved it. And I just knew that was my future, because I was like, no, I'm going to be a player. I have these goals. I have these aspirations. And something else was in store for me. And so from that, I went and actually got into finance for a little bit and was working in New York Life. And I was like, man, I'm going to do this. And the guy was like, man, you're going to make a lot of money. We're going to do this. It's going to be great. You're an athlete. You know how to push. So I'm like, man, let's go. And I woke up about 2.5, 3 months into that thing. I said, nah, bro, this isn't it. So I woke up, called my boss, told him like, hey, man, I quit. I can't do this. And to me, that in itself is leadership, right? Because those are, again, the things that you're learning along the journey, because I had to take a leap of faith because I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I wasn't going to do that. And so the day I decided I was going to move on, and I went to National University in Southern California. It's an online university. Went there, signed up to get my master's to go be a teacher. And I said, nah, bro, you've always had this thing in you that you wanted to coach, you wanted to teach. This is what we're doing. And so I started that process. And then I was fortunate enough to be able to get some assistant coaching jobs at some really good private schools down in Southern California, Santa Margarita being one and Servite being another. And we had some success, won a few state championships as an assistant coach. And really what that did to me, on top of having the ability to be teaching there, it really is like, man, I love this feeling. I love what this is doing to me. I'm becoming a better man, best version of myself. And, well, all that really did was created that itch even more that I wanted to compete at the highest level, because that's who I am innately. I want to compete at a high level because I believe, like, if you're really about what you talk, what I always thought I was about, it's like, bro, let's go push ourselves and see how great we can do doing this thing. And so I was fortunate enough to go be a graduate assistant at the University of Colorado. And from Colorado was there for 2 years, and then transitioned to taking a full-time job at Montana State University with a wife and a kid, making $32,000. I was like, bro, this is a journey. This is what we're doing. And was there for 4 years. And that, to me, there was a gentleman that I met there, and his name is Jeff Cho. And he's one of the best leaders of men that I've ever come across. And that's really where I thought, for me, we're really refined and solidifying, like, nah, bro, you're in this for the right reasons. And you're watching somebody do it and do it at a really high level. And they've been in a lot of places, and their journey was very similar to yours. Although they're from a small town in Idaho and you're from Southern California, there was a lot of similarities that kind of brought us together. And watching him and watching the man he was, the husband he was, but then the coach and the teacher he was, it inspired me. And I was like, yeah, bro, you can do this. You can do this at a high level. So there 4 years, fortunate enough then to go to Oregon State University, worked with another really, really great man, Jonathan Smith, who's another great leader of men, and was able to turn that program around and watch him do it. And he entrusted me with certain tasks and responsibilities within the program as a recruiting coordinator and other things to help me get that program going in the right direction, be able to identify the right young men that we were looking for, and help him turn that thing around. And fortunate enough, I was able to, guys played well at Oregon State, and I was fortunate enough then to go to Chicago and work for Matt Nagy, then came to Atlanta and worked for Arthur Smith. And now we're here, and I'm working for Raheem Morris. And through all that, man, all these men are great leaders, but I've learned something from all of these different stops. But again, it's just something that started when I was probably 7, 8 years old, with Ron Young and some of the guys that influenced us as we were playing youth sports.
There's a theme that I heard in your story. You talked about early on, receiving coaching in the technical skills of being an athlete, but also how it influenced your life. And it sounds like that's been a theme. And I'm interested in how you think about, from a coaching perspective and from a leadership perspective, the intersection between the work at hand and somebody's life. Like, how does where an athlete or a professional is at personally intersect with how they perform professionally? And how do you look at that as a coach and as a leader of people?
Absolutely. No, that's a really good question, Bo. I think they coexist within one. And what I mean by that is, like, if you truly see yourself as a leader, it's your responsibility to meet your people where they're at, because they need you. You can't expect everyone to be where you're at, because there's a reason you're in the leadership position. And so if you're in a leadership position and you truly are serious about why you're in that position, I don't care if it's coaching, in the business world, or it's in the classroom, because at the end of the day, yeah, my title says coach, but at the end of the day, I'm a teacher. right? My platform is just using football to teach the game of life, but also, there's some technical things that go into our job and responsibility. But again, going back to your question, I just think it's so important to meet them where they're at, because then they know, okay, there's a connection being built there. Not saying, man, well, you need to hurry up and bring it up this way, because either get on or get left. And eventually that may come up, but to initially start, they need to know there's a care there, and with the players, truthfully, I'm not afraid to tell my players I love you. And the reason I'm able to say that is because I've heard that from coaches myself, because it may have been what I needed at that time. And ultimately, as we talk about this, and as Black men, like, it's okay to use the word love when you're in a position of leadership, because I want to see you have success. I want to see you be the best version of yourself. And that's why I love you, because I know that you have something more in you that you can give. And so I've always kind of kept that motto and that mindset, while also understanding, like, that in itself is not going to help you keep your job, right?
Right.
So the competitive greatness within myself, right? And again, learning that from the people that I've been around has now helped me hone in and say, okay, well, you can also love them up, but let's make sure that we're great at our craft, and that we're extremely detailed, and we're extremely, we're not afraid of hard work, because if we do those things and we do it consistently, that's going to be our slight edge to continue to kind of push us forward. And, by doing that, also, you're influencing them. So I'm meeting you where you're at, but you're seeing how I work. You're seeing me do it. So then you say, well, dang, coach, man, you always make sure we know our job, bro, because that's our job. That's my job, is to make sure you know it. So I'm going to make sure you have that information, because now if I'm meeting you where you're at, and now you see the work that comes in, hopefully I'm motivating you to push yourself to be the best version of yourself.
I like that idea because I mentor youth. So I really like that idea of just telling them that you love them, because I believe in a leadership role. A lot of times people have to know that you care about them, and that you genuinely care about them. And particularly when you're dealing with Black youth, you don't know if they've even heard that a lot of times, another man telling them that they love them, or just sometimes another man just wrapping their arm around them just to let them know that I got you.
Yep.
And so the other part was where you said you meet them where they are. Here's something that just a little bit off maybe. There's an age gap, and there is a difference in leadership styles that you have to adapt in dealing with this next generation.
Yes.
So in that role of leadership, how do you deal with leading those that are in this, I'm going to call it the immediate gratification generation? They want it right now. They want their success right now. I showed up today, so I should be successful today. And putting the work before the success before the work, the only place that success comes before work is in a dictionary, but they want that in their life right now. So how do you handle that type of leadership? Well, I'm going to call it intergenerational leadership.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, and you're 100% correct. This generation of young people are different, and I don't just think it's the generation of young people. I think our evolution in this transition that we're seeing in general, we as adults still have that instant gratification, because we sit here and we live behind these devices as well. And there is an age gap, but part of when I say you meet them where they're at, it's not, and I know you're not saying them taking yourself down to where they're at. It's more saying, hey, let's find some commonalities, and let me take a deep dive of what are the things that are important to you. What's your why? What is your why? Because if that why is important enough and I know your why, well, you're going to allow me to help push you. And I'm going to be able to use that why and be able to dangle that carrot to say, hey, this is why we got to get up at 5 to make sure that we're here at 5:30. So that we make sure that we can get an extra 30-minute meeting in. So that when we hit the meeting, you've already done the meeting. So now when you go out there on the field, it's no thinking. Now we're playing fast. You see what I'm saying? And I think it's, and part of it is, and I do think with this generation, it's the word leadership is really, really scary for this generation. And so one of the things that I'm doing, because again, it's such a unique experience, is you do work with 21, 22, 23-year-olds, but they have a lot of money, right? And so it's just unique thing because they are young, but then you also have to understand they feel very grown because they are very grown because they're high income individuals and high aspired individuals. But it's being able to say, bro, I don't need you to be a leader. And maybe even with me, it's let me influence you. How can I influence you? You see what I'm saying? But it's part of finding, well, what are the things that interest you? Because once I know it interests you, I'm going to dive a little bit further into those interests. And now I can influence and I can have a conversation. We're in the cafeteria or we're walking through, or we got 10 minutes before the meeting starts and I can just ask you how your family's doing. Man, you're Orlando Magic fan. How the Magic doing, right? But you just find a way to create a connection with them. And I think that in itself helps you be able to influence people because like you said, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
And so that to me is how you do it. But I do think coaching professional, it is very different. I don't think my answer would be the same if I was still coaching college football, if I'm being honest.
Right. Well, and I say that because not that the money is the same, the thought process is the same with us in the real estate industry because we coach and we're dealing with independent contractors. So that they believe that they run and own everything that they have. And they say, I got in this business to be my own person. And I believe that I run everything. At the end of the day, they say, I don't want to have a boss anymore. Everyone has a boss. Everybody works for somebody, yes. Even in business and entrepreneurship. And I just want to get your perspective because, again, you are working with folks who make a lot of money and they believe that their success is totally of their own account. And how do we even deal with it? So that's a great conversation. That's why I asked that question.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's a good question. And I think, as a leader, you do want to encourage some of the, how do I say it? I don't want to say individualism because it's not individualism, but you do want to encourage them to aspire to be their own boss.
Their unique identity.
Yes. But with that, they have to trust you to understand there's a process. And part of my job as the leader is to help you go through that process so that we can put you in a position to be your own boss. But it may not be tomorrow, may not be the end of this year, but if we do what we're all supposed to do and we do it and we're doing it for the right reasons, man, I can't wait to see you be your own boss. And you kind of talk it into existence a little bit. I can't wait to see you X, Y, and Z or reach this goal or do this because now they're saying, man, if they're talking like that, I need to start talking like that about myself because they see it, not just saying it just to say it because I'm trying to be combative, if that makes sense.
Wow. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. I like that thought process.
Well, Mike, going back to what you said about leadership versus influence, I think is fascinating. You and I have talked a lot about this, and we have something inside of Keller Williams, which is called the Leadership Council, the ALC, Agent Leadership Council. And when you think about leadership, it's a word that scares a lot of people because they don't either see themselves as being a leader. They don't think that they've been throned yet. They don't think they have enough experience. But a lot of times what we're really asking for is just their influence in whatever goal we're trying to get accomplished, whatever initiative we're trying to launch, whatever influence that we want in how you show up. Why do you think that there's a difference there, and how have you seen that working?
I think leadership is lonely. Right. We've heard that before. And what do I mean by that is like, again, no one got into, and again, I'll use my example of sports. No one got into sports to be lonely. You got into sports for camaraderie. You got into sports for team, right? You got into sports because I want friends. I'm new to a community. I want to learn, right? So as soon as you say, man, well, you need to be a leader, well, 9 times out of 10, if it's not the best player, they're like, well, how do I do that? I don't know about that, coach. Well, then, because now you're asking them to look within themselves to figure out, well, what is coach asking me to do that he thinks that I'm going to sit here and lead? And then now that's very lonely because I can't go ask, hey, Bo, man, what do I need to do to be a better leader? Because now he's like, man, what do you mean? You see what I'm saying? Because I'm not going to go ask another teammate of mine because that's a conversation that the coach and I had. And so when I think of influence, well, all these young people now know about social media and all these influencers and the money that you can make by being a social media influencer. And so they see that, well, man, this new shirt came out. I'm gonna put this shirt on, boom, I'm gonna throw it on, or I'm gonna, boom. Now all of a sudden, 50,000 people love this shirt. And so they see that. So now you use a little bit of psychology, and that's coaching, and that's leading in itself. And so to me, when you say, okay, I want you to influence, it's not as an abrasive of a word. You still want the same thing at the end of it, but it's the word leadership is like, it seems stern. It's like, man, this is serious. Man, I want you to just be influence, man. Influence these guys. Let's have a great drill. Man, let's have a great meeting today. You know what I mean? And sometimes, and truth be told, sometimes because you may see someone, you may see it within them, you have to manufacture those opportunities, those situations, and you can even give people a heads up, because that, again, is, to me, that's part of the psychology of being a great leader is, hey, man, I'm going to call on you today in this meeting. Make sure you're locked in. But coach, what you mean you're going to call them? Hey, you're good. You know it. I just want to make sure, because I want them to see, hey, man, we're locked in. So I need these young guys to see what you're doing, because you're the big vet in the room. And so it's no different than in your guys, right, in the real estate profession. There's some of these people that have been in it for a long time, like yourselves, that are the vets. Well, there's some people that are under you that are, right, have some influence in themselves, but they may not see it. So you may need that veteran influence for some of these young people, knowing that the young guys are going to bypass the vets, but that's what you need. And that's when you have a great organization and a great team, because everyone is uplifting each other, because they're all influencing to go in the right direction.
Well, it's wild when you think about, like, when we grew up, being a team captain or a leader was a badge, and it's what everyone strived for. And I feel like that's almost diminished now, where people they don't want the responsibility. And you're like, and to your point, you're like, I just need you to influence. I need you to show up a certain way at the meeting, because that's going to have a ripple effect on everybody else.
100%.
I need you to lead generate every day and be that influencer, so other people inside the room will pick up that habit that you're currently doing. I don't need to have separate leadership meetings with you. Nope. I just need you to show up a certain way.
And that's why one of the things that we try to talk about, and again, this is not something, none of this stuff is stuff that I've come up with either, right? And that's where I talk about the influence of some of the people that I've been around. And you just learn a lot from just, not even saying as much, just being a fly on the wall and taking it in and seeing how they have to go about it. But one of the things I think that's so big is when you do see them do it, being able to say, there you go, that's what it looks like. Reward it. That verbal confirmation that's good, because we all, right, it's like, right, you have kids that play sports, right, and that kid, right, they shoot a shot or they do something. What's the first thing they do? They look to the sideline, because they just want to know, was that good or was that bad? Dad, are you happy? Right, because they're trying to read your body language, trying to read your mannerisms.
My son doesn't do that, so I'm gonna have to get it on that, because he don't look for me for nothing.
Right. And so I think it's the same thing at work, where it's like, man, if we all believe in what we're doing, like, those guys want to be able to hear, or those ladies want to be able to hear, great job, I see you. And it could be just in passing, I see you working. Just giving them that. And that's like, okay, because that's that little spark they may need to be like, all right, this is more what he's looking for compared to what's called. Because if we always wait for these exit meetings and these corporate opportunities to sit down and, well, hey, I'm on this side of the desk, you're on this side of the desk, and hey, let's go through your review. Sometimes you miss organic opportunities to say, that's a great job right there. That's a really good job. And so I think that feedback, immediate feedback, to your point, Emmerich, what you kind of talked about earlier, I think that immediate feedback is important, but the immediate result may not come, but the feedback I do think is really important.
You're talking about that feedback. Is that private feedback? Is that public feedback? Because a lot of times in leadership, we have to give that public feedback as the true reinforcement or validation that they're properly, or they feel that they're properly being rewarded for the activity that you want to see. So
that's part of your expertise as a leader, though, because again, when does this person want public? Does this person didn't mean to say it in front of everybody, or does this person want just, hey, walking and passing, hey, we're both grabbing some coffee, great job. I saw what you did, great job, right? I'll use this example. I thought it was really cool, right? NBA playoffs. I'm a big NBA fan. And so I was watching something yesterday and I saw Draymond Green talk about a brother who was on their team and he wasn't in the rotation. He's a veteran guy. And there was a rookie that was in the rotation. Well, I guess they didn't have enough seats on the bench. And he went out of his way in the press conference to love up the vet about giving up the seat for the rookie because he knew that's probably what that veteran guy needed in that moment because he was probably not happy, right? We're all competitive. He wasn't happy. He probably wasn't in the rotation, but he's like, it is what it is. I'm a team player. But by him getting that, hey, great job giving that seat up because most vets would have told the rookie to go sit on the floor. He knew that's what that man needed in that moment. And I think that's part of when I say you got to meet your people where they're at. You have to be intentional and deliberate about the communication that you have with people because that's going to give you a much better idea to say, okay, you know what? This isn't a person that I can get on in front of everybody. And you got to know that about your people. You know what I mean? Whereas this is a person I got to get after them in front of everybody because they need to feel a little bit of that. All right, bro, now all eyes are on me. Let me show you. So you got to really learn you're right. In my case, you got to learn your players. You got to learn your coworkers. But for you, right, it's no different. You guys got to learn the people on your team and figure out, ooh, if I said it. Now, again, there's this thing I call above the line and below the line behavior. And again, this is not something I came up with. I learned this. Well, above the line behavior is a thought out process. And you know the reaction that you might get, even if it's not a good one, you still are willing to accept that reaction, right? Below the line behavior is, well, I dropped coffee, right? I dropped some coffee on me, and that's just my reaction. There's no thought process to it. That's just how I react. It just is. So sometimes as a leader, you got to make an above the line decision to say, if they do this one more time, bro, I got to light them up. I have to light them up because whereas if you don't think about it and they just do it one more time and then you go in there and you're just going after them and then you're like, dang, that isn't even really what I wanted from that. Now you got to backpedal as a leader. That person doesn't feel great about themselves. You got to go apologize. Well, hey man, I didn't mean it that way. So I think as a leader, those are the things that we have to continue to work on and learn as in leadership positions. Who are these people I'm dealing with? Where are they at this moment? Because we all know we have good days, we have bad days, and be able to be clear and concise with our communication and with our expectations. And then when they meet that expectation, great job. When they don't, that ain't it.
Right. All right. I'm leaving you alone now, Mike, because you just stepped on my toes. I just want you to know that.
Well, what? My bad.
No. I just had one of those. Below the line, below the line moments the other day, and when you said that, it triggered me. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, all right. So I get it.
And I'll even say this, and like, even as in positions of leadership, when you have those below the line decisions or behaviors, it never makes you feel good as in the leadership position. You're like, come on, man, I really just did that. And you know what I mean? And so,
Right. Oh yeah, I know.
And so to me, and again, it's something that it's not easy.
Right.
It's not easy at all, but I don't think anytime you're in a position of influence or leadership, it's not going to be easy. I don't think there's an easy way to go about it. If you're high, if you are aspiring to do some really special things.
How do you turn this off?
I don't know if you do turn it off. I think once you make a decision that you're a high achieving individual and you have high aspirations for yourself, and there's been a certain way that you've been able to see some success from that and achieving some of the goals that you have, it's like, well, why am I going to change the recipe? And so what I think even more to what we were talking about earlier, it's like, understand who you're communicating with and be able to meet those people where they're at. But I don't think you can turn, it's not a thing where you walk in the building and you're a certain way. You hear a lot of coaches say it, the standard is a standard.
Mm-hmm.
Standard is a standard. And I try to, that's how I try to look and view in life, because there's a certain expectation standard that I want for myself, because as soon as you become complacent, somebody's going to bypass you. Right. And I think when you're in a high achieving profession, you have to really, what it is, it's not turning it off. You just have to find those moments where you can just enjoy the moment. You see what I'm saying? I don't think it's so much turn on, turn off. I just it's like, and that's something I'm trying to get better at, man. You know me.
Like it's weird. That high performing individual can also turn a lot of people off. And when we own market centers and we have this standard of achievement and success, and then you have a bunch of other people that don't live up or meet that kind of standard, then it's like, I can't dim my light. Like you got to come, I got to meet you where you're at, but you also need to step your level of effort and intensity up to have the level of success you want as well. So it's this balance that I try to find on like, I can't dim my light to meet everybody else where they're at because my grind got me to where I'm at.
I had that same issue because I retired from the military and I came active duty. I mean, I came full time into opening up a market center. And I believe that's what worked so well for me because I was used to working a structure. And at that time, Keller Williams had a book, they had a structure. So I clearly understood how to operate a market center because I was used to structure and order. When it came to that level of expectation of other people, what I really had to do is I had to understand, and my brothers taught me this. He said, by the grace of God, there go I. Because everybody's not going to be at the same level that you're going to be at, or what your expectation is, because they're not at that place. It does not affect you. You just have to figure out how to encourage them to get to a different level without compromising who you are. And that's very difficult. And I know you don't, Mike, it's difficult. It's super difficult. And you just have to just figure out what's the overall objective to get to this point but let me say not without, with minimal judgment. With minimal judgment.
Never diminish your grind to get where you're at, or where, you know, however we got to where we're at. But it's also be able to have enough humility to say, not everyone's built like me, and that's why I am different. You see what I'm saying? And it's not a badge of honor, but it's just like, man, they what they aspire may not be what I aspired, but I still got to lead these people. And it's not to say, man, and like I said earlier, it's like, we're not going to leave you behind because we're all moving together. It's just like, hopefully we're all moving together in some type of pace that's going to allow us to achieve the goals that we want to achieve. And I think that's the thing. And I heard someone say this, a friend of mine, he said this, I don't care. We'll figure out what seats they get in. Let's just get them on the bus and we'll figure out where the seats are at. Right. And that was in reference to what position. Well, I think this guy's going to be in this, or I think he's going to be that. No, we think he's good enough to help this team. Let's just get him on the bus and we'll figure out how we're going to move the pieces around in this, that. Because I think sometimes we hold ourselves back because if you are trying to be perfect with the plan, and I'm guilty of this all the time, and you want this picture perfect plan, well, you've wasted a lot of time before action actually even got started, because you're going to adjust a million times before you even get to the final thing anyways.
Does it really change that much when people know that you really care about them and you have integrity about the way that you deal with them? Or do sometimes those youth or kids or athletes change because they see how disingenuous the person was when they came and sat in their living room?
Man, that's a good question. I think there's some layers of this question. I haven't been in a college program going on 5 years, so the college landscape has changed. That's where I'm going to start. Okay. I don't think it changes from the standpoint of, it's still a people business. It's still about you being able to go in there and explain and express why this university is the best option for you, and being able to say, this is how I'm going to help you grow as a person, as a player, and ultimately help you reach whatever goals it is, be it academically and athletically. That doesn't change. But the business model has changed of college football. And I think because the business model has changed of college football, I think that is what's made the challenge for leaders at the college level. And I say that to say, I still have a lot of friends that coach college football and they love what they do. But they'll talk about it. It's different now because guys can transfer without a penalty. Guys can go somewhere else and be compensated more. all those things. And so there's more factors now, I think, plays into player retention, if that makes sense. Because now it's not just I coached you hard or you think I'm disingenuous. It's you think I'm disingenuous, I coach you hard, and school X may pay you $50,000 more. So now you think it's the best option for you to go over there. And so I think that's the part that's hard because you still, as a college coach or any coach at any level, you don't want good players walking out of your building. No different than you guys in the real estate profession. You don't want good employees walking out of your building because there's a lot that went into building that good employee.
It's fascinating to me just thinking about how you put the time, effort, and energy in. And again, it just hit me as we were having this conversation. Like, man, college coaches and broker owners or team owners are in the same kind of boat on how do I build a strong relationship with you and still continue to keep you incentivized enough to stay here and go build something together that's worth fighting for, you know?
And then thinking goes into a whole nother level of if you go through your process and you are, and I won't say so much meet them where they're at in this case, but you really find out what makes the young person tick and what makes that family tick, then you will do a better job of bringing on the people onboarding the people that fit the culture that you're trying to create. And so then that in itself, you're hoping to have a better retention rate. And there again, like I said, without speaking specifics about certain organizations or programs, excuse me, there's some teams that have a certain model that they go by, and I have a lot of respect for all of them because they do it the way they see best for their university. But I think it is a unique because it truly has become something that's different in the college realm, and it's not just football; it's all sports, man. You're watching. In the women's basketball, right? And you're watching some of these girls are playing in the Final Four and they're deciding, hey, it's in my best interest to go elsewhere for whatever reason. And you said, hey, man, wish you best of luck. But I'm sure those coaches are like, darn, like I wish I didn't have this, this starter walk out of the building because now I got to find a way to replace, 19 and 12. Like that's not easy. And that's no different than you guys having to find to replace your highest seller. You know what I mean? So
how do you think about culture? How do you think about the creation of culture? And what part of leadership is defined by creating a culture or an environment? And how do you think about that in your world?
I think culture is really big. It's a word that's thrown around a lot, right? But I think there's generally speaking, I don't think culture, and this is just my opinion, I don't think culture is throwing a bunch of signs and stuff everywhere, because some of that it is a psychologist, subliminal messaging. But I think if you are going to do that, it's concise and it's repetitive, because really ultimately what you want to do is understand how can I streamline this communication? Because as a leader, we may see it in it's, this 20,000 square foot view or whatever. But ultimately I need this player or this individual to see it through this sniper rifle mentality and just be very focused on this one little thing or, hey, these couple things, because if we can do this and we can be on time, we know how to work and we know how to finish. Well, if I can get the player to understand being on time, well, that's half the battle with people, right? I can teach you how to work and what our expectation is, what it looks like to work. Shoot, that's the other part of the battle. And now we got to finish. Well, that's closing the deal. That's finishing the game, whatever it is. To me, it's those being able to streamline your communication so it doesn't turn into a 15-minute dissertation about what your culture is and it's its laundry list of rules.
Yeah.
And that's changed for me because I was the guy that had a laundry list of rules and thought you had to have everything, this and that. But really what you see is like the people that turn around and have success and achieve at a high level, they already have somewhat of a culture within themselves. So you just got to help guide them a little bit.
What have you learned with leading the best of the best? I mean, you've set several records for the players that you've coached in Chicago and then in Atlanta as well, with performance from them. So what have you learned with teaching or coaching top producers on how you show up to get the best out of them that already know what they're doing and obviously are already incredibly great at what they do?
You remind them as often as possible there's a reason you're here and that you're great. You remind them and you tell them, because you're going to have social media, you're going to have other people sitting there telling them, and you're worried about what people are saying. And so you remind them you're great. Man, you're one of the best to do this thing. Let's do it. Because ultimately, my job as a leader, I want to build you up. I'm not going to pull you down. I'm trying to help you because guess what? If you're an 8 and I got you believing you're a 10, shoot, let's rock. You see what I mean? And so I'm going to encourage you, but I can be demanding without being demeaning. And so if I'm able to encourage you, I can also push you because if I believe you're great, this is why we got to push this much harder. This is why we got to finish this drill. This is why we got to do X, Y, and Z. And so I think it's really important that you build them up. I think that's so important, man, because you just think about, right? If I go in there, I said, man, there ain't no way. Right? Ain't no way you're going to close this deal. You can't do that, man. You can't go in there and close this deal for this house. And it's like, you start, and then I'm telling you this and I'm the leader. Well, man, I'm trying to use reverse psychology. I'm trying to encourage. They might start believing that too. So the moment they have resistance, because again, we're high achieving professions, you're going to get resistance. There's no way around it. So once they have some resistance and now the leader told them, I don't really believe in you, that self-doubt creeps in. But if you as the leader tell them, man, I can't wait to see you go to work today. This defense has no chance. Well, guess what? When they're out there, they're going to believe all of that. They're going to believe, man, coach already said it. We already spoke it into existence. Now it's time to just go rock. So I think being able to be encouraging and positive is extremely important. But like I said, with that, you have to understand, I'm going to be extremely demanding without being demeaning. I'm attacking the action or lack thereof, never the person. If I want to attack the person, you and I will have a conversation behind closed doors and we will get that addressed. Right. And we will talk like grown men. And if there's something you need to address with me, please address it. And so when you're dealing with professional athletes, you got to be very, very honest with these guys because they're very smart. They're very, very smart. They didn't get here by accident. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of guys that had talent and ability, but they didn't get to this point. So when you're dealing with pros, I think the biggest thing is continuing to reinforce you are great. There's a reason you're here. And it's our job to work together to achieve what you are trying to achieve. I know what my goals are for you. I hope yours are higher.
So anything that is, as we sort of come to the end of our time here, any sort of closing thoughts you think on leadership that you'd love to share with this?
Don't run away from it because each opportunity is going to be just that. Each opportunity is unique. And I think as a leader, when you get resistance, find another strategy. Don't run away from it. And especially if you believe in the person or you believe in the process and you believe in what you're doing. Now, and there may be a time where you say, you know what, man, but if there's that belief deep down inside, don't run away from leadership, man. Embrace it because too many people are running away from leadership. And I think the more the young people see people running away from leadership and see people running away from influencing to do the right thing, like perfect example. My daughter and I went to Dick's Sporting Goods the other day to get some cleats because she's playing flag football. And we get there and somebody left a cart literally in the middle of the parking lot. And it was a Tuesday. So it's not many people in the parking lot. And she was like, Dad, really? Somebody's just going to leave a cart in the middle of the parking lot? And so we saw a lady getting in her car. So we didn't know if she did it or not, but it was near her car. And so all I did is I got the cart, I pushed it, boom. She's like, you sure it goes in the Dick's? I was like, I don't know, but I'm at least get it out of the middle of the parking lot. Whereas I could have totally ignored that. We went in there, did what we needed to do. But for me, that's an opportunity to lead because she sees like we went out of our way to move that cart not because it helped us or inconvenient, but it's because there may be a person that wants to park in that spot. And now it's going to inconvenience him. And so to me, that's a little thing, but it would have been just as simple to just walk in the store, get the cleats, let's move and let's get back home. You know what I mean? So I just think we as people that look at ourselves as leaders, don't run away from those little opportunities to influence and lead. And it can be something as simple as holding a door because I see so many young people that walk in doors now that don't do it. And it drives me nuts. And the yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, thank yous, please, all those little things to me are why people are running away from leadership because some of those things we're losing sight of some of those things because those manners allowed interaction for people to see those leadership things, because it means you're aware of your surroundings and what's going on around you.
This world needs more leaders right now. Don't learn from leadership.
100%, man. I appreciate you guys having me on. And, this is the process of getting here, was there's some hoops that we had to get through. But the best part of it, man, is they watched the people that needed to give me the thumbs up, watch what you guys are doing. And they really, really liked what you guys were doing. And that's where they gave me the blessing to be able to get on here. So I appreciate you guys having me.
This podcast is for general informational purposes only. The views, thoughts, and opinions of the guest represent those of the guest and not Keller Williams Realty LLC and its affiliates, and should not be construed as financial, economic, legal, tax, or other advice. This podcast is provided without any warranty or guarantee of its accuracy, completeness, timeliness, or results from using the information.